Hello everybody, welcome back. Sam Tom here. Today we are talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Now I'm going to try to go pretty quick because I'm also trying to get to an early showing of Strange World today. So I am going to get into spoilers later, but before I get there, it's 45 minutes long, 40 minutes before the credits. There's a lot packed into it, and that's not, I don't mean that solely as a good thing. I mean, it could be a good thing, but there's a lot of stuff that I would have preferred not be in there when you have this little time to work with. It's got wildly different tones, which again, some people might like. I would have preferred if it had focused a little more on one than the other. But overall, I am going to get into my nitpicks. But I think this is worth a watch. It doesn't take that much time. There's quite a bit in there. And so, more positive than negative, in my opinion. Just, I don't want to say it's like the greatest, most amazing thing ever, and then you're like, what is going on if you're watching it? It's weird. But I think it's worth a watch. So check it out if you haven't yet. Otherwise, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to get into the spoilers, talk about what happens, and nitpick a lot, because that's what I do. So it starts with an animated segment, and I was like, wow, I did not realize this was animated. None of the marketing made it seem like it was animated. This is a weird choice. Not a weird choice to have it animated, but a weird choice to have it be animated and not warn us. But most of it's not. There's one scene at the beginning and a couple scenes at the end. And I wrote down that the animation is weird. It's like, I assume it's intending to invoke the Star Wars holiday special animation style. It looks very old and clunky, but I assume that that's intentional, but I still just don't like it. And when you ended with that, it kind of starts me off on a sour note. We learn that the Guardians have bought Nowhere for some reason. Don't know why, because then they talk about how busy they are and how much hard work it is. So it's like, why did you do that? You're supposed to be guarding the galaxy, like going around and saving people. This seems like a big hindrance to that. So I don't know what's going on with that. We get Cosmo, which, like, technically we've had Cosmo before. This is a slightly different version of Cosmo, but this Cosmo talks, kind of, so she's kind of fun. And then I like the song. There's this big opening musical number, which again, I thought was, I haven't seen the Star Wars holiday specials, but I've heard about them. So I know that there's musical numbers in that, so I thought it was kind of referencing that. But then there's a lot of music in this, okay? It's 40 minutes without credits, 45 minutes with credits. How many songs do you think would be appropriate for that amount of time? I would think maybe 3, 4, maybe 5. I counted 9 songs. Now, I wasn't counting right from the beginning, so I might be off by 1 or 2, but I counted 9 songs within 40 minutes. That's a lot of songs. And, I know James Gunn loves to put his, I don't want to say obscure music, but his less than the most popular music, right? And so most of these songs I had never heard. The one towards the end, I don't know if it was the last one, but there was one towards the end that I had heard. I wasn't super familiar with, but they're all Christmas songs. They're all obscure, and they're just boom, bang, pow, one right after the other, and it's unrelenting. And like, sometimes Christmas is unrelenting, so maybe it was intentional, but I don't know. I would have at least preferred if some of them were, covers or something of more traditional songs, so that at least while I'm being bombarded with all this Christmas music, I've got some sort of familiarity with it. But, give me like a punk rock cover of Jingle Bells or Rudolph or something like that, rather than 8 songs I've never heard of before within 30-something minutes, and then one that I've kind of heard before at the end. Not my favorite part of this special. I'll just say that. We learn. I'm sorry. I wrote Groot looks weird. So Groot is now nearly fully grown, if not fully grown, but he's like, I don't think he's as tall as he was originally, but he's much chunkier. And it looks like they just put somebody in a suit so that they wouldn't have to CGI it. But it's like, is that what he's going to look like in Volume 3? I really hope not. But then if he doesn't, then it's going to be inconsistent with this. I think it looks really, really bad. We learned that Mantis is Quill's sister. Time will tell what the significance of that is. But so it's like, this isn't just a silly thing. That's, I think, I don't want to say my biggest problem with it, but my biggest, like, what is this? Right? Because there's a lot of stuff that's just silliness for silliness' sake, which I think is okay. But then there's also some, like, fairly important stuff that goes down in this, which I'm like, I don't understand how we're supposed to absorb this, right? So, like, is that not going to be important? Are the other things in here not going to be important because this is just a silly thing? Or are they putting actually important stuff into this silly project? I don't know. I don't know how to, and you know, it's a special. We've only had one before, and it's very unrelated to everything else. So I just don't know how we're supposed to take this information, what we're supposed to do with it. It's mentioned that Gamora is gone, which is very ambiguous. Wow, can't say that word. It's very ambiguous, right? Because they don't say dead, they don't say missing, you know. So they could really do whatever they want. They could have it be like, oh, she was just out, like, doing a job. She's back, right? They could have already found her. Or it could be exactly where we left off before. Very ambiguous. I really like a lot, but not all of what Mantis does in this. This whole special is heavily carried by Drax and Mantis. And how much you enjoy it is going to depend on how much you enjoy their shtick. To me, Drax is getting a little bit old. Drax is getting a little bit repetitive, a little bit redundant, a little bit, okay. I really like Mantis's performance a lot better. I think it's just because I've seen less of her. And not all of it I love. There's some stuff that, like Drax, is just like, okay, really? Come on. But if you really like them and you really think they're funny, then you're probably going to really think this is funny. To me, it was a little bit too much focused on the least relatable characters, the least emotionally resonant characters, because they're both so silly. We get a quick Zorro cameo. That was exciting to me. And we get a montage of Mantis and Drax on Earth in this area where a bunch of cosplayers have dressed up and people are taking pictures with them and people just keep giving them money and money and money and money, and you think that's going to come back later and it really doesn't. But we get one montage that ends with Drax killing a person. Because there's a person dressed up as a GoBot, and it's revealed that GoBots, I forget what they said, but his friend was killed by a GoBot or something. So he hates this man that he thinks is a GoBot. And as Mantis is posing with other people's, just in the background, we see Drax just punching the crap out of this guy. And it's like, that guy's dead. Because Drax is insanely strong and does not have the brain power to understand that he has to hold back his punches, and also doesn't know that that's a human because he's an idiot. So that man is dead. Drax murdered a man on Earth at Christmas time, and it's never addressed. Then I wrote so much music, and this is where I started keeping track. And then I wrote 2 montages back to back, because then we have another montage of them in a bar. And them buying drinks in this bar is the only payback we get from that, or payoff we get from them getting all this money. And like, they really focused on how much money they were getting. And Mantis is like flaunting it in the pictures, and they keep showing close-up shots of all this money and all this money and all this money. And then they just spend it all on the bar. That's all that happens with it. It doesn't go anywhere. Because you're like, oh, well, you know, they wanted to get them drunk and wasted. But, like, they don't really act that much differently when they're drunk and wasted. But also, people in the bar are also buying them drinks. At least Drax, they're buying them drinks. So you would assume that, you know, Mantis could probably get some free drinks, too. So they didn't even need the money to do that. So it literally goes nowhere. It's completely pointless. 2 montages back to back, which is just wild. In a 40-minute project, 2 montages back to back. Mantis just robbing people. So then they're looking for Kevin Bacon. That's what drives the whole movie. Is they're looking for Kevin Bacon to get him as a present for Peter. They're talking loudly out in the street, and this person's like, hey, I can send you this map to Kevin Bacon's house, but it's going to cost you money. And she just mind tricks her, because she's lost all her money, into giving her the map. And then, separately, additionally, she mind tricks her into giving her all her money. So, we've got Drax casually murdering a guy, and now we've got Mantis just robbing someone on the street. And these are supposed to be the good guys. And, like, it's the punching, you know, him punching the GoBot, it's kind of funny. But, like, when you think about that he murdered him, it's not that funny. But her stealing this girl's money is not funny. So I don't understand what the point is. Then they go to Kevin Bacon's house. Drax really liked this elf decoration, so he picks it up, and then Mantis scolds him and says, you can't just take stuff, or don't just take stuff, which is then immediately just a joke, because then she sees a big candy cane, and she likes it, so she takes it, so it's like, oh, she knows that it's wrong, but she's choosing to do it anyway. But it also makes no sense, because she just took money from that woman! So, like, it's not even that she's just, oh, well, this thing is shiny and pretty, so I'm gonna break my rule. She already broke her rule for money, something that she doesn't even seem to have an understanding of, because she left all of it in the bar. So it's completely inconsistent. And again, this is what I'm talking about, is like, if this was just a silly thing, then I'd be like, okay, well, none of this stuff matters. But, like, there's other stuff in here, too. And so I don't know how I'm supposed to take this. It's the hocus pocus problem again. I don't know how seriously I'm supposed to take this. Then we have Mantis' weird jumping powers, which I don't recall seeing before, but apparently she has, like, special leaping abilities, which includes being able to stick to walls, which I don't remember ever seeing before, but she's Spider-Manning through Kevin Bacon's house. This is when I wrote, is Drax getting old? Because I was getting tired of it already. And then we have them just casually attacking the police. And, like, Mantis is disarming them and then putting them to sleep. So she's not killing them, but she's fighting them. She's punching them and kicking them. And then Drax just flips over a car. And then she scolds Drax for it. She's like, you can't just kill people, which, like, it shows that they're not dead. But it's like, you're doing the things that you're scolding him for doing, which I don't understand. Like, neither of them is the straight man. They're both the goofy oddball. And so having Mantis try to take the role of the straight man, it just doesn't work, because she's not. She's also a goofy oddball. And then we get this really long, they get Kevin Bacon, they're taking him to nowhere. And we get this really long, uncomfortable interaction where it's revealed that they hate actors. They think that actors are just the worst kinds of people in the world. And it's brought up again later by Nebula. And I just don't know where this is coming from. Is this something that I've missed in the other movies? So they seem to think that Peter thinks that Kevin Bacon literally himself is the hero of all these stories. But it's like, he tells them that, no, those are just characters that they play in movie, and he mentions the characters' names. And so you'd think they'd put two and two together that, oh, well, Peter Quill never used the character's name, so he didn't think those movies were real. He used Kevin Bacon's name, so he understands that it's an actor. But no, so they try to trick Kevin Bacon into pretending to be a hero, which then Kevin Bacon gets to do some fun acting, I guess, that I didn't particularly enjoy. But I don't understand where this hatred for actors comes from, and why it's so pervasive amongst all of their members, apparently. It's odd. It's very odd. We had some Batman references. Kevin Bacon pretends to be Batman. That's okay. That's a thing, I guess. I think my biggest laugh in the whole thing, so they've set up this huge Christmas display for Peter. So the whole thing is that, like, Yondu ruined Christmas for Peter when he was a kid, so they're trying to bring Christmas back to Peter. So he comes out, lights are all over nowhere, all right, everything's all decorated, they got this fake snow, and then they bring out Kevin Bacon in a box, and it's a present, and Peter Quill's like, this is not okay, right? Peter's the straight man here. And so Kevin is kind of freaking out. And, like, Peter makes Mantis undo her trance. And Rocket Raccoon says something like, relax, we're not going to hurt you. And Kevin goes, a talking raccoon. And Rocket goes, I'll kill you! Because he doesn't like being called a raccoon. And just that Instant switch. We're not gonna hurt you. Hey, call me a raccoon. I'm gonna kill you. It's so well delivered, and I think that's a problem with a lot of the stuff in this special. Is that Mantis and Drax, just their characters, the delivery doesn't often work for me very well. The execution, the song at the beginning that I said I liked the song. The execution of it and the performance and the showcasing of it was I don't want to say cringe, but it was weird and it was off. And Peter Quill's just awkwardly standing there the whole time. And they desperately want his approval. They're trying to impress him, but he keeps interjecting at things that are wrong in the song and they just don't stop at all. And it just doesn't tie in. It would have been much better if they were just a band on a stage and they had told him over the mic, hey, this is for you. We hope we got this right. And then he can be walking around doing stuff and being like, no, that's wrong, right? No, it's no, he doesn't do that, right? But they're not seeing it. That would have flowed much better. But just to have him awkwardly standing there, yelling at the front man, and nothing happening, it's very strange. So a lot of weird executions in this special. But I did laugh quite a bit at that Rocket Raccoon line. Then off screen, Kevin Bacon calms down. So he's run away. He's terrified, right? He doesn't know what's going on. Off screen, Kraglin, I guess, catches up to him and calms him down and explains that he'll take him back to Earth, and Kevin Bacon trusts him because then we pick up with him getting into the ship with Kraglin. So, we don't see how that happened. We don't see why that happened. We don't see who made that happen. It's just, oh, no, he's pretty chill now. And he's about to take him back to Earth, and then his wife calls him, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to stay out a little bit late. These guys need to know the real meaning of Christmas. And it's really? This is where we're ending up with this? Is the real meaning of Christmas? So then we get another performance by this band, but now with Kevin Bacon as the front man. And, the execution of this one is better, because they're not, having a one-on-one interaction with Peter Quill as it's going on. It's more just in the background. But it's just where did this come from? And then, oh gosh, I didn't even realize we had a third montage. Because as this song is going on, everybody's giving each other presents. So, third montage in this 40-minute special. And this, it out of nowhere, this is totally what Nebula gives Rocket Bucky's arm. Which, I love it as a callback, right? Because, where we're are we going to see that in Endgame, blah, 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 right? It's one of those things that it was set up years ago, so to pay it off now, that's very fulfilling, but, how did she get that? Why does she have it? When did she get it? What's Bucky doing now? Does he not have an arm? Is it an old arm? Did he get a new arm that we haven't seen? It raises so many questions. And it's is it just a gag? Is it just a gag and that's it? Or are there implications for Bucky now? That we're going to have to wait more years to find out. I don't know. Then we see that the story that Kraglin told at the beginning, the animated section, was not complete. And, oh gosh, I don't even have him here. Hold on. So originally at the beginning, Kraglin said that Yondu, destroyed everything that Peter had ready, told him Christmas was stupid, told him Ravagers don't take presents, everything that we have we earned, right? So, that was the whole point of the special, was that they're trying to make Peter enjoy Christmas again. And I think Mantis is telling him this, and Peter tells Mantis, I don't think Kraglin knows how that story ended. And we go back into another animated segment, and it's revealed that after Peter had thrown away all the Christmas stuff or whatever, Yondu was walking by the trash can, saw a present with his name on it, and it was one of the little trinkets. I thought it was going to be a troll as a callback to Peter's troll, but it's just a little figure. It might have been one that we've seen in the Guardians movies. It looked very, very similar, but it's animated, so it's not exactly the same. So Yondu's oh, okay, I guess I'm okay with this Christmas stuff. And then we see young Peter Quill have a present on his bed from Yondu, and he opens it up, and it's his guns. So Yondu did learn the true meaning of Christmas and gave Peter Quill guns for Christmas as a child. So that's the real ending of the story. So it's oh, we get a nice little Yondu moment, even though he's dead now. And then Mantis reveals to Peter that she's his sister, which she wasn't going to do earlier. And then I wrote down, Chris Pratt is actually capable of being a really good actor. Most of the time he chooses not to do that because he wants to be silly or something instead. But like, I was tearing up in this moment. It was like very short, very brief, where he's reacting to that news and he's like, that's the greatest Christmas gift. And like, it's a cheesy, sappy, obvious, redundant, overused line, but his delivery is really, really good in that moment. But like, he doesn't do that most of the time. And like, I don't really particularly like Chris Pratt because, you know, well, I don't want to get into it now. But it's like, he's capable of being really, really good. And I wish he did that more. Then we get a post-credit scene with Groot as a Christmas tree. So he's standing up with his arms out, covered in lights. And then he gets tired and drops it all, and Rocket and Cosmo yell at him. So I'm sure we're going to see Groot Christmas trees in stores very, very soon. And then Rocket breaks the fourth wall. And he turns to the camera and says, now we're going to have another special. Well, what does that mean? Is that an ability that he has? Or is it just a gag for this silly thing? I don't know what to make of this, and it's driving me insane. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.